The Untamed Frontier, the rise and fall of the American Wild West. The American frontier, a land of wild dreams, lawless deserts, and endless opportunity. It was the stage where pioneers, outlaws, native tribes, gold hunters, and gunslingers collided, shaping a nation that rose from dust and blood. This is the story of the American frontier, the untamed heart of America's history. The birth of the frontier, 1600s–1700s. The story begins in the 1600s, when European settlers arrived on the eastern shores of North America, British, French, and Spanish colonists carving out small settlements along the Atlantic coast. To them, the land beyond the Appalachian Mountains was an unknown wilderness, full of danger, mystery, and native nations that had lived there for thousands of years. For the Native American tribes, Cherokee, Iroquois, Sioux, Apache, these weren't frontiers. They were home. But as European settlements expanded westward, conflict was inevitable. The early frontier became a battlefield between colonists seeking land and indigenous nations defending their territories. Westward expansion, 1800 to 1840. By the early 1800s, the young United States began to look west. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson made one of the most significant deals in history, the Louisiana Purchase, doubling the size of the nation overnight. Explorers like Lewis and Clark were sent to map the vast unknown, rivers, mountains, deserts, and tribes no European had seen before. The term, Manifest Destiny, soon became popular, the belief that America was destined by God to expand across the continent, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. But this destiny came at a cost. As settlers moved west, Native Americans were forced off their lands through brutal wars and forced relocations, most tragically remembered in the Trail of Tears. The Gold Rush and the Great Migration, 1840 to 1860. Then came gold. In 1848, gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill in California, and the world went mad. Hundreds of thousands rushed west, miners, fortune seekers, and adventurers. The California gold rush turned sleepy villages into booming towns overnight. But for every man who struck gold, 100 more found only dust, disease, and death. Wagon trains rolled across the plains, through deserts, snowstorms, and Indian Territory, following trails like the Oregon Trail and the Santa Fe Trail. The frontier was no longer just a dream. It was a race. The Age of the Cowboy, 1860 to 1890. After the Civil War, a new symbol of the frontier emerged, the cowboy. They drove cattle across the Great Plains, from Texas to Kansas, building an economy around beef and trade. Railroads connected the east to the west, cutting travel time from months to days. Small settlements became bustling towns, Dodge City, Tombstone, Deadwood. But with growth came lawlessness. Outlaws like Jesse James, Billy the Kid, and Butch Cassidy became legends, robbing trains and banks, hunted by sheriffs and bounty hunters. The Wild West became both a land of opportunity and chaos. Native resistance and tragedy. As settlers pushed deeper, Native Americans fought back. From Chief Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse to Geronimo and Cochise, brave leaders rose to defend their people. But the U.S. government's superior weapons, population, and policy of forced relocation crushed resistance. The Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, where General Custer's troops were wiped out, was a rare victory for Native forces. But by the massacre at Wounded Knee in 1890, the last major resistance ended, marking the final death of the free Native nations. The closing of the frontier, 1890 to 1900. By the end of the 19th century, the U.S. Census declared the frontier closed. The once endless wilderness had been mapped, settled, and fenced. The cowboy era faded. Native Americans were forced onto reservations. Railroads and telegraphs connected every corner of the land. The Wild West became a story, retold in dime novels, Hollywood films, and American folklore. But behind the legend was a darker truth of stolen lands, broken treaties, and the cost of expansion. The legacy of the frontier. Today, the American frontier lives on in spirit, in the belief of freedom, courage, and exploration. It's part of the American identity, the idea that anyone can chase a dream, no matter the odds. But it's also a reminder that progress often comes with a price. The frontier was more than gunfights and gold. It was a struggle between civilization and wilderness, greed and survival, conquest and resistance. The land was tamed, but its stories remain untamed forever. If you enjoyed this deep look into the real history of the American frontier, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Untold World.